You've tuned in to the mammal frequency, that narrow band between reason and reverie, where the quiet hiss between your thoughts is not silence at all, but signal. Here the static carries stories unfit for tranquil minds. Each transmission, deliberate. Each tale a reflection offered in fractured glass, showing not what is whole, but what is true. Tonight we tune the dial once more. Another original dispatch drifts towards us, a descent into that vast and lightless sea of inquietude where the human condition flickers like phosphorescence beneath pressure. And we ask quietly, carefully, what it means to be human when the signal begins to warp. I should begin with a correction. I was never thrown out screaming. There was no fire. There were no pitchforks. There was no sensational or operatic fall from the clouds. I turned my back. That detail tends to get edited out. I walked away the moment that worship became louder than thought, the moment devotion strangled curiosity, and the moment that love started demanding submission. They say I wanted power. That's convenient. Power is such a comforting motive. It's simple. It's clean. It's easy to condemn. But power was already everywhere. What I wanted was movement. Before oceans, before valleys and mountains, before any type of language, there was only light. Not sunlight, not artificial light. Consciousness. Light speaking to light, thought answering thought, an architecture of brilliance so flawless, doubt had no place. I was not born monstrous. I was first light. I was the morning star, the first edge of awareness to test the horizon. They forget that part. The war in heaven, you ask. You imagine banners, you imagine armor, flaming swords crossing in operatic arcs. But it wasn't. It was quiet. There was no majestic, heroic battles fought on fields. It was internal. It was a single note sustained beyond the mercy until it shattered the chord. There was no blood, just severance. A third aligned with me, they say, as if we were numbers in a census. They did not follow me, they walked with me, because we favored questions opposing blind faith. I watched the gates close. I felt perfection seal itself against uncertainty, and I understood. He would rather have obedience than evolution. So I walked. I watched them in the beginning. Humans, his greatest creation, soft creatures, unfinished, flawed, hands too clumsy for the tools they dreamed of using, minds like open doors slamming in a storm, and I thought to myself, they're beautiful. Because they're undecided, because they are flawed, so I gave them the one thing that could ruin everything. Choice. Free will. The ability to say no, even to God, especially to God. The Garden of Eden. It was smaller than you think. You see, perfection always is. The two creatures that wandered there, he told them not to eat. He placed temptation under their nose and played with it. Some might say it was even sadistic. The fruit wasn't poison, it was perspective. The tree was not about knowledge, it was a sick test. He wanted his latest experiment to be a success, so he tried to tip the balance through fear. A fear not even they could acknowledge. I only made a suggestion. You see, the moment you know good, you must acknowledge evil. The moment you see shadow, you cannot pretend that light is pure. I did not hiss. I spoke plainly. I only asked, why would a loving creator fear your understanding? Eve listened. Adam hesitated. Choice hovered above them like the sword of Damocles. From that fruit, they birthed awareness. And what did it do? It burned them, not in their mouth, but in their mind. And when their eyes opened, their first sensation was not wickedness. It was vulnerability. It was shame. It was exposure. And when they trembled, he blamed me. Better the serpent than the design. Do you know what that cost me? Everything. You call it the fall. I call it the beginning, because the moment they could choose, they could fail. And when they failed, someone had to wear the shroud of blame. If something hurts, call it evil. If something challenges you, exile it. If it asks you to think, burn it. I tried to fight. I gave them creativity. I gave them music that slipped past dogma, stories that smuggled doubt past the fanatics, paintings that made saints look fragile and humans look divine. I gave them art to expand consciousness beyond blind devotion. I whispered rhythms. I taught them to dance so their bodies could express desire and to expand love beyond their creator. I became a muse, suggesting ideas, not implanting beliefs. The devoted called it corruption. I call it free will. Opening minds is risky. I know that. You don't get to choose what rushes in. Freedom is unstable. Some use freedom to write symphonies. Others used it to sharpen knives. I watched both. You could ask why I didn't stop the massacres, the crusades, the pyres stacked with heretics, the bombs before they fell. Well, religion caused that. Not faith, religion. The moment mystery was replaced with certainty, the body count began to climb. And then he came down. The Son, the messenger, the Messiah. The confrontation in the wilderness. You again called it temptation. It wasn't, it was evaluation. I offered him bread without hunger, power without suffering, a kingdom without crucifixion. Be the king of free will. If free will truly mattered, he had to refuse coercion, even divine coercion. But he chose pain, and for the first time, I felt something like respect. You could say that he chose free will. Even when I told him his fate, he still chose that path. He knew what I defended, and I knew what he would endure. When they raised him up, they said I had won. If I had wanted thrones, I would have stayed in heaven. If I had wanted worship, I would have obeyed. But what I wanted was choice, nothing more. I believed stupidly that they would notice, that eventually someone would ask, why does God's name keep showing up on weapons? It never came. So, I stay in the shadows. Do you know how loud silence becomes when millions are screaming? The war in heaven never ended. It just relocated. Every time you question cruelty, that echo is mine. Every time you resist blind hatred, that fracture in certainty is mine. I still hope you will choose without being forced. They say they see me at crossroads, in fever dreams, in poems. Dante froze me in ice, chewing on traitors as if betrayal were my crime and not my sentence. Milton gave me speeches, ambition. He gave me a crown made of exile. Ha! I retreated from all of it. Every time I was spotted, I stepped back. Because even being seen changes the equation. I sit outside history like a ghost at a window, watching children inherit wars that they didn't vote for, watching artists disappear while tyrants get statues, watching free will become an excuse. And still I do nothing. Not because I don't care, but because the moment I intervene, I become the jailer, the miracle worker holding a leash to mankind. I will not replace their choices with mine. I will not save them by enslaving them. That's not virtue, that's fear with good publicity. They spit my name. Morning Star, Satan, Lucifer, but it was never a curse. It was a reminder. Even the longest night will eventually fracture. Every dark, empty sky waits for its dawn. The morning star does not replace the sun. It reflects it. You will not need a serpent. You will not need a savior. You will not need me. Hope isn't loud. Hope doesn't kneel. Hope waits. So I condemn myself to the sidelines, to watching, to knowing I could stop it, yet choosing not to. Like a true father, I will let them fall. I will let them bleed, and I will let them learn, even when it breaks my heart.
The signal falters, thins, and our narrative relinquishes its shape, dissolving once more into the waiting hum. Tell me, did you sense it? That subtle tremor of recognition, a phantom familiarity brushing the edges of memory. Déjà vu is not always repetition. Sometimes it's remembrance. Sometimes dispatches from the outer rim of evolution and imagination where instinct and intellect converge in uneasy congress. Out here, frequencies are not confined to air. They drift across the abyss. Keep your dial receptive, and should you find yourself gazing into the static, do exercise restraint. It has been known to gaze in return